morning, traders. I'm Emily Advani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Friday, September 5th. We close out the shortened trading week after the S&P 500 notched a record close yesterday as investors renewed hopes of an upcoming rate cut. The S&P 500 gained 53 points or 0.83% to end at 6,502 points. The Dow advanced 350 points or just more than 0.75%. The Nasdaq climbed 209 points or about 1%. Well, this morning, investors are awaiting that non-farm payrolls report. So let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're higher. We're in the green. We're up 0.17%. We were up 0.2%. So, we'll call it positive action, up 0.2%. That's kind of nice to see. But the key today is really this non-farms payroll report that's coming out 1 hour before the market opens. That's going to be the big catalyst for the market. Semiconductor stocks are on watch. The Trump administration indicated that they're going to be placing tariffs on those firms that are not building their chips in the U.S. Yeah, that's an issue. They're also said to be, the White House is also said to be preparing to start negotiations on a new major free trade deal. Now, this major free trade deal is going to be between the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. That's positive. And last night he signed the trade deal with Japan that lowers the auto tariffs from 25% to 15%, and now he's going to be able to get his hands on that $550 billion investment that the Japanese were offering as part of lower tariffs. So that's kind of positive. And Japanese markets took off on that news. Boeing, you got to go keep an eye on shares of Boeing this morning. They got 2 new plane orders this morning that were announced, and those striking workers in St. Louis, they're talking about replacing them. So Boeing's in play today. Stock's up about 0.3% this morning. Looks like it's moving even higher. On the earnings front, hey, we had positive earnings from Broadcom, DocuSign, Samsara, and UiPath. They're all trading higher after their earnings reports. But Lululemon, they did deliver a beat, but it's a very negative report. And that stock has fallen this morning. Next week, the key earnings report that I'll be watching is ORCL, as that stock is going to be releasing earnings next week. And then we're kind of taking a look overseas and seeing what's going on in the European markets this morning. And we're looking at the DAX. The DAX is, higher. I mean, it's up 0.23%. But, Germany's factory orders, they contracted by 2.9% in July. The fall was kind of unexpected, as the estimates were calling for a modest increase of 0.7%. So that's a big differential. In London, the FTSE's higher by 0.33%. I mean, mainly due to the positive UK economic data. The retail sales volumes climbed 0.6% month over month in July, which was better than the expectations of a 0.2% increase. I've seen some positive action. I've seen some positive action in mining stocks and banking stocks on the FTSE. That's all nice to see. The FTSE, hey man, the FTSE's higher by 0.28%. It was lower, but it has climbed back because of anticipation of, the economic report coming out of the U.S. But, I don't know. I'm a little concerned here because, they got that September 8th confidence vote coming up. That could be cautionary for those markets. Political upheaval is never good for markets. Turning our attention over to Asia last night, Asia was basically green across the board. I mean, the Nikkei jumped 1.03%. That's on top of yesterday's big gain. And, what stocks were outperforming? Autos. Autos had a really good day on the Nikkei overnight. Why? Because Trump's cutting tariffs to 15% from 27.5%. Then he formalized the $550 billion in Japanese investment in the U.S. That's very positive. Then you look at the Hang Seng, the Hong Kong market in Hong Kong. It was up 1.43%. You saw gains in technology, consumers, property stocks. They were all outperforming. In China, the Shanghai was up 46 points or 1.24%. That reverses yesterday's big loss. But the key catalyst was that announcement from the PBOC where they announced that they're going to inject 1 trillion won, into their banking system via outright reverse repo operations to calm the markets. And what was higher in on the Shanghai technology stocks? Technology stocks did lead that move, that leg higher. Or take a look at oil this morning, and oil's weakening. I mean, you get WTI at $63.11 a barrel. You get Brent trading at $66.69 a barrel. I mean, they're likely going to be, falling for the week, but the oil market remains cautious. I mean, it's under pressure due to concerns of, rising supply. I mean, you got that OPEC meeting coming up on Sunday, and they're expected to discuss a potential production increase this weekend, and that's what's causing some nervousness in the market. So, we got to keep an eye on oil, but that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report, Emily.
Bill, sifting through all that you mentioned there, we of course have that main headline of the non-farm payrolls report. We will get to the full economic look in just a moment. But before we get there, you also did mention a number of stocks that were companies that released earnings and, some that were positive, moving higher. One may have been your pick of the day from yesterday. And then some that were widely watched, like that Broadcom report and Lululemon. So we will dive in to earnings action first. Bill, what is going on there?
Yeah, Lululemon. I mean, listen, they beat by 25 cents, but it was done on lower revenue, and they gave very, very weak guidance. You look at the stock this morning, it's down 18.9%. Really ugly, really ugly. I mean, at this level, I mean, it is a little attractive, I will say, but I wouldn't want to be, but it would be a short-term play. I don't think I mean, in that 165 range, it does seem pretty cheap, but right now the outlook is not good for Lululemon. The Copart, that ticker CPRT, Charlie, Paul, Richard, Tom, they beat by 5 cents. They did it on lower revenue. Stocks trading a little off this morning. It's down about 2%. Then you got Broadcom, AVGO, Apple, Victor, Grace, Oscar. They beat by 3 cents. They did it on higher revenue. That stock's up 11.7% this morning. And let's not forget about PATH, PATH. That's UI PATH. They beat by 7 cents. They did that on higher revenue. If you look at PATH this morning, it's up 4.7% this morning. So, they're very, very positive. On Monday, a little light, it's that time of year, Planet Labs is coming out. That's ticker PL, Paul Larry. They're expected to lose 3 cents. Expected move is 20.17%. But I'll tell you that the call volume was really strong yesterday in PL, Paul Larry. But that's what I have for you in terms of morning market update report, Emily.
Bill, I have to make mention here that UI Path was your pick of the day yesterday, up more than 4% this morning. We will do a full check-in on that one by the end of the show. Now on to the day's economic events. Even though there isn't a lot, there is that big headline when it comes to non-farm payrolls. So let's get into economic events. Bill, give us a rundown of what's going on there.
Quality over quantity. That's what I could say about economic reports this morning. I mean, the 8:30 a.m. non-farm payroll report, 1 p.m. Baker Hughes rig count, but that non-farm payrolls report, that's the big one. Now, the expectations are for a modest increase of 75,000 new jobs, which will be a slight improvement over the July figures of 73,000 jobs. And and it does kind of indicate a slowdown in the labor market growth. The key catalyst here that I'm worried about is what if the number comes out stronger, like really stronger? Because remember, President Trump, he dismissed the head of the BLS last month after the number didn't come in positive, and they changed some of the numbers in May and June, and he questions the validity of those numbers. So he did a knee-jerk reaction, and he removed the head of the BLS. The U.S. is the gold standard for economic numbers, and when you start to question it, that really causes concern in the markets. And if you come in with a positive report, I'm afraid that the market might not believe it. So I'm cautious on this report. We'll have to see how that affects the markets. But those are the two key economic reports, and the non-farm payrolls report coming out 1 hour before the market opens. That's the key one today, Emily.
Bill, certainly interesting to be watching this non-farm payrolls today on multiple levels. As you mentioned, this is that first report since the change in leadership there. So widely watched. We will be using our newsware to catch that data as it comes out. So we'll be seeing those numbers right as they hit the tape. And when it comes to quality over quantity, what about both quality and quantity? Because that's what you have with your newsware when it comes to other news, data, and information. Each morning, there's no shortage of information to sift through. Looking at your newsware grouped into different types of information, like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, and catalyst calls. You watch your stocks grouped together, like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
I'm just doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 19 lower, 11 higher. I'm looking at my FANG stocks. Little gains in Meta and Tesla, but everything else is trading lower. You're looking at news behind the tape, and obviously, with Apple, the tech CEOs met with Trump last night. They had dinner together, and they all praised President Trump during their White House dinner. They all said positive things. They were really talking about what's happening with the AI, uh, the AI trade, and it's all positive. But you get the small group of individuals that are really kind of making the narrative in terms of the regulations on AI, and I question if that's the best solution there. But we'll have to wait and see what comes out of it. Amazon, listen, JetBlue, it came out this morning. They said they're going to be using Amazon satellite internet, service on about 25% of their aircraft starting in 2027. That's kind of positive because they want to get into that business. And this is the first big contract they got with an airliner. So that's kind of positive. Google, a U.S. Judge ordered Google to pay more than $425 million to plaintiffs for collecting data even after they turned off Amazon's web traffic, collection services. So you turn it off, they're still collecting data. You can't be doing that. Google is trading a little lower, down 0.2%. Tesla, Tesla's trading higher this morning because Tesla's board is proposing a pretty big pay package for Elon Musk. I mean, it's an $88 billion pay package if he adds 7.5 trillion to the balance sheet, to the value to the stock. So yeah, if you look at Tesla, it's trading up 1.87% this morning. In terms of Dow Jones 30 news, well, we got to talk about they received new plane orders from Acquire Air Finance and WestJet. That's positive. JP Morgan, they're one of the banks that are preparing a $38 billion debt deal for data centers, which is said to be tied to Oracle. So that's interesting. And NVIDIA and NVDA, they agreed to rent their own AI chips from a company in a $1.5 billion deal. That's something's okay. We'll have to see. I'll get more news on that later today. In terms of guidance news, Lululemon. This is what I mean by ugly. They see Q3 EPS coming in at $2.18 to $2.25. The street estimate was at $2.95. That's a huge downtick. That's why you see the stock getting crushed. It's down 40 points this morning. DocuSign, DOCU, they see Q3 revenue coming in 804 to 808 million. Street estimate was 797 million. That's an uptick. That's an uptick. And in terms of catalyst calls, I mean, Mobileye, was interesting. MBLY. I mean, one of the things is that the Trump administration is said to be considering removing requirements for self-driving cars. That would be positive for Mobileye, and they got added to a catalyst watch yesterday. So yeah, keep an eye on MBLY. Something good could be happening there. But that's what I have for you in terms of news in the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Rounding out the week here, shortened trading week, start of September. We're anticipating that non-farm payrolls, so a little cautious this morning. Bill, what is your pick of the day today?
Yeah, really tricky here today with that non-farm payroll support because that's really going to be a market mover. But I got to go with the Oracle ticker ORCL today. There's just some positive developments going on with the stock. I mean, for the one thing, earnings are out next week. And you look at yesterday's call volume, 35,840 versus 38,448. See, it's not matching all my data points. That is not a positive sign. But the open interest, 535K versus 398K, that is positive. Major brokers, for the most part, have been raising price targets. They do like the stock. But the key is that the banks are preparing $38 billion of debt for data centers, which is, in that story, is being tied to Oracle. Now, the entry price is everything. And it could sell off after that non-farms payroll report. I mean, listen, if I could get in at if I could get into the stock at, 222.50, that'd be fabulous. But I'm thinking it's more realistic to consider getting in around the 225.50 area, like, 225. 25 or 225.50, like in that area. That's kind of where I'm, shooting for this morning, because I do think the non-farm payrolls report will, come in as expected, up 75K, which will be a benefit for the markets, and they, create additional boom. But, this debt package that's being created by the banks for Oracle, which is a rumor, and earnings next week, I think these two things combined could be a big catalyst for the stock, or we could see at least a 1% gain. But I want to get in 225.25 to 225.50, and that's my stock of the day, Emily, Oracle, ORCL.
Oracle, it is today, Bill, sort of watching that news cycle, also looking at your data points, along with being nimble with that entry price, given other types of information that are coming out, putting all those pieces of the puzzle together on this Friday. We will watch that one along with you. And then coming up, we will also do a recap on yesterday's pick of the day before we sign off for the weekend. So stick with us through that. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics. These are the guys that are going to be producing the non-farms payroll report. Apparently, they're facing some technical issues, before this release. And while they haven't said they're going to reschedule it, they are saying that they're that they're having some difficulties, with the report. But they just didn't say whether or not the issues will delay the employment data release. But they are experiencing technical deliveries, so we got to be cautious with that BLS report. That would be negative if they don't release it on time. That would be considered negative, because that would cause the market to panic a bit. Let me see something. Yeah, SPOO's continued weekend. That's partially due to it's still up 0.12% now. Okay, what else do we see? ABM, their report wasn't that good. Appleboy Mary. President Trump's planning on a UFC cage match on the South Lawn with thousands of spectators. That's not good. Nike is having a shareholders meeting next week. Lilly is going to be presented at the Wells Fargo Healthcare Conference this morning at 9:30. Ticker BILL, Bill. That Starboard Value disclosed an 8.5% stake in the company. Costco, ticker COST, they reported 8.7% August sales growth last night, which very interesting, very interesting. It came out a day later than normal. Typically, it comes out Wednesday afternoons after the bell. It came out Thursday this time around. Handful of apparel retailers, including Levi's, are teasing more full-price products, testing how much wealthier shoppers are willing to pay despite the effective tariffs. Alaska Air Group, the airliner, said on Thursday that it is converting part of its outstanding order for Boeing 787 jets to the larger 787-10 variety. That's positive. Starbucks, it's on watch. I mean, because of the bidders, for that portion of the Starbucks China operations, value, which is valued as much as that $5 billion, and then a deal could be announced shortly. So you got to keep on SBUX, Starbucks. That's all I'm seeing this morning.
Okay, Bill, before we dive into trading on this Friday, boy, a lot of drama with the BLS right now. Important to be watching your NewsWare alerts. You're catching all of that information in real time. But where there isn't drama was UiPath, your pick of the day yesterday. As you told us, they did have a solid report. UI PATH reported Q2 EPS of 15 cents. That was 6 cents better than the analyst estimate 9 cents. Revenue for the quarter came in at $361.73 million versus the consensus of $347.35 million. In terms of guidance, the Q3 2026 revenue guidance and their full year 2026 revenue guidance were both well ahead of the estimates out there, so solid on that front. It is up solidly this morning, more than 4%, as you pointed out. Bill, how did your call work out?
This one worked out great. This one really worked out well. I mean, UiPath, ticker PATH, the stock opened up at 10.93, but then it fell during the trading day. I mean, it dropped down to $10.37, which was this huge buying opportunity, especially at the 10.50 range when it started crawling back up, because you knew that there was positive momentum in the stock and the earnings were coming out. The sell-off was well overdone, and then it climbed all the way up and it closed out at $10.85. And then you look at it after the earnings, the stock hit $11.83. It's like 10%. I mean, you look at the stock this morning, it's trading 11.31, which is up 4.24%. But, there was a point where it was trading over 11.50. UiPath, the ticker PATH, was a big winner yesterday. Big winner, Emily.
And with that one, a solid start to September, Bill, with these picks of the day. And we will see if we can keep this streak going when we check in with you on Monday about today's Oracle pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here Monday and each weekday morning next week at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.